morning, everyone. First, when she defined that climate change is about greenhouse gases, and further on she said that climate change is already there and we couldn't prevent it anymore. That's somehow contradictory because according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change or the Fourth Assessment Report, it is said that the increase of global warming temperatures is because of greenhouse gases. And it is said that greenhouse gases are accumulated from man-made activity. And so, if man-made activity has been done, then man-made activity can also be prevented. Second point, Ms. Bombarda said that adaptation reduces vulnerability to material losses. But how can you adapt? But how can you adapt to disasters? You can't adapt to disasters. What you can do is to prevent it. If you are trying to adapt to the vulnerability of and reduction of material losses, then what's that? Where do you adapt to material losses? Also, yes.
Can you just please explain why we can't adapt to climate change effects? Why we can't adapt to erratic climate conditions like typhoons? Because I say that we very much can adapt to typhoons, for example, or earthquakes.
No, what I'm saying is that how do you adapt to disasters? It's a disaster, and what this house is proving is that we should be preventing climate change. So, this house argues that prevention is better. Why? Because when Ms. Bombarda said that adaptation is better with complementary efforts in preventing climate change, then that is more costly to the government, and that reduces other priorities. And an example of Switzerland, they said that yes, they are able to adapt with the effects of climate change, but the United Nations said that it is not feasible for other countries, like for example developing nations, who do not have the capacity to inform everyone about these processes in order for people to adapt to climate change. Whereas if we prevent climate change, we create policies in order for industries to side and to comply with climate change standards. Next, prevention is more sustainable because it is an anticipatory counter-reaction to the effects of climate change. We are not adapting to our vulnerability to climate change. And if we study it further, if we are saying about the vulnerability, then it is somehow vague, because if we don't address climate change as prevention, then the vulnerability increases, and our levels of efforts to adapt to climate change increases as well. Then therefore, it is an ongoing effort. You can't address it in a way that it is already set. You change it. Yes.
Sir, what is mutually exclusive on your proposal, which has not been given by Ms. Bombarda? She already gave that along with mitigation, she will also have prevention.
Yes, but what she said is it is only complementary. But what I am trying to drive at is we are preventing it. We are trying to move to prevention rather than having adaptation as priority. Okay, it is better to put finalized legislation to credit companies to work for sustainable energies rather than creating preparations or measures to patch up these problems. And because of this, because of adaptation, it will need, again, from what you said, it will need more participation of everyone. You said that, right? Okay, so with that said, countries and nations or societies who do not have the capacity to inform everyone cannot mobilize everyone to do so. Whereas if we go with prevention, creating legislations, policies, and imposing on industries who have already created measures, like for example, Chevron, who have already decreased their, because Chevron, as we know it, they contribute to 1.4% of the greenhouse gas emissions of the world, and they already prevented it by decreasing it. Yes.
If you're referring to developing countries, I would like to inform you that it's already starting to be done in the Philippines and developing countries, so it can be done. And number two, if you're saying that if you're saying that it can be done, that people can be involved, you can never really tell because it's only starting to be done, and it can be done.
Yes, it can be so. But again, I just want to point that our government is not that yet efficient as well. So the program in itself won't be that efficient because the implementation itself it's not that efficient.
Here.
Again, for other like for example, again, another argument is with Chevron, who is not part of any government. Okay, so if government will just impose, will just create a legislation for them following that certain amount of carbon emission or carbon reduction, then it won't cost them that much. Whereas if government mobilizing everyone using that much resources, then like for developing countries, then it won't be that beneficial because it reduces priority on other matters. And also with adaptation, adaptation will cost governments much more as they keep on creating programs to go with the situation. But again, for example, with the Copenhagen Summit, they agreed that there will be only a 2 degrees Celsius increase for global temperature every year. Now, if that increases to, let's say, 30 degrees Celsius, how can the government adapt to that? Can we still live here on Earth or in a specific country where global temperatures increase? That's not a feasible. It's not a feasible way of adapting. It's not a feasible way of going about with climate change. Rather, we should be able to adapt to it. We should be able to prevent it to create sustainable, long-term, which will be beneficial to current generations as well as benefiting to future generations. Thank you.